Hey everybody, Steve Sefcik from Should Have Been Engineering here again. I wanted to touch today on the 2-minute mod jet kit, why the 2-minute mod jet kit works, and what your part is in helping to get it to work to its absolute optimum. First of all, let me give you a little bit of history on this. The Kawasaki Concours, like a lot of the Kawasaki's, kind of is a parts bin bike. The airbox out of the Kawasaki Concours was lifted from the Kawasaki ZG1000. You might remember the old 900 used in Top Gun back in 1984. Well, that was the airbox that they put in the Concours. You know, airboxes, like everything else, has evolved. And if you look at some of the later offerings that Kawasaki had, like the GPZ11 and the ZRX11s and 12s, which were really known to be you know, really torquey, strong motorcycles with basically the same displacement as the Kawasaki Concours. Those bikes had a lot better low end than the Concours do. Well, part of that was because of the redesigns that they did with the airbox. So I found a way to be able to offset that using our airbox. Basically, if you look at the Concours airbox, at the back of the airbox you'll see that it has a very large intake runner. And I feel like what happens with the Concours is, particularly because I think the cams in the Concours are a little too big for the way most guys ride them, we have this kind of constant air moving in and out and in and out through the airbox. The out is from reversion. That's something that happens because of the cam timing events, and it's actually exhaust. That low RPM exhaust is pushing pressure back out the intake before the intake starts sucking the air back in. So with the large opening, that air is very free to move in and out, in and out, in and out. After doing a lot of testing, dyno testing, testing on my bikes and many other bikes, and this goes back actually over a period of years, what I found was that not only would the bike be able to perform better at higher RPM, but actually pick up a lot of low RPM torque if we could control some of this reversion that's going on in the airbox. So I ultimately came up with the 2-minute mod jet kit. The 2-minute mod jet kit works in a way that everybody would say it shouldn't work. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to block one side of the airbox. Now this is a full 2-inch wide block that you would get whenever you get the 2-minute mod jet kit from me. Typically, this is going to make your jetting a little bit too rich. As you can see, we've reduced a lot of the air. Basically, 50% of the air has been reduced. Don't let that bother you. My bike made 117 horsepower on the dyno with just one side open. A typical Concours is in the 90 horsepower range. One side can completely feed your bike as much as it's going to need. So by installing the foam here in the back, what we've done is we've kind of created a baffle so that the air reversing is not that easily moving through the airbox because of the onrush of air that's coming in by this reduction in the airbox intake. So if you get carburetors back from me or you're installing a 2-minute mod jet kit, this is where the foam goes. Bottom rear of the airbox at the airbox intake. You want to leave the foam so that it's partially sticking out, that way it can't ever suck all the way in. And from a tuning standpoint, you have fine-tuning accessible to you that in the past would have meant pulling the carbs out, replacing the jets. Well, I've taken a different approach to that. What everybody seems to forget is we're dealing with air-fuel ratio. For whatever reason, carburetor tuners for years and years and decades have always tried to tune the gasoline rather than to tune the air. Well, in this case, we're going to be tuning the air side of the ratio. That way you can make a 2-minute adjustment, hence the name 2-minute mod, by just changing out the foam. So basically, you'll start off, you can put this whole 2-inch block in, take your bike out for a ride, see what you think about the throttle response. When you come back, cut 1/4 of an inch off of it. I just use a pair of scissors. I kind of trim it just a little bit like that, and then put it back into the airbox. What you're going to do here is You're going to let a little bit more air get by over here. This will lean out the mixture just a little bit. Take it out for another ride. You don't want to be just light on the throttle. You want to give it some kind of hard throttle accelerations. You never want to feel the bike bog down. You're always looking to feel very crisp acceleration, no matter what RPM you're at, no matter what gear you're in. You want instant throttle response. If you ever get a sensation of the bike getting very breathy or kind of getting a flat spot like a like that, it's gotten too lean. If you get to the point of where you're too lean, you need a little bit more blockage. So start off, you can start off with 2, you can start off with 1 3/4. I find most bikes, as long as they don't have a problem with a cracked airbox, are going to be fine with a 1 3/4 inch piece of foam. If you want to try a 1 1/2 inch piece of foam, cut another 1/4 inch off of this. If you go too far, you have your second piece of foam. Put it back to where the bike ran the best. That's what the second piece of foam is for. If you happen to have gone too far, and by the way, you'll never know that you've gone too far unless you try it. So don't be afraid to try it. One thing that I see guys do, they take that whole 2-inch piece of foam, they stick it in there, they call it good. The reality of it is, now you're a little bit too rich. Your gas mileage isn't as good as what it could be. When you've got the best throttle response and the best performance, you'll also be getting the best fuel economy. I hope that kind of demystifies what we're doing with the 2-minute mod jet kit, give you an idea of what part you're going to play in the success of how your bike runs. As always, come and check me out. My website is shouldhavebeenengineering.com. You can see me on the forums, on the Concours Owners Group forums, and if you're on a Concours, be sure to join COG.